Hello and welcome back to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean.
And we're glad you're here. In this podcast, we talk about sales problems that affect salespeople, sales leaders, and the organization in general. Collectively, we have built careers, successful careers, in everything from software and delivery to distribution. And, frankly, we have sold to and for some of the biggest companies in the world, and some of you probably never even heard of. But today, and for the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about, well, the exact question is, do you have a documented sales process that is followed by everyone at all times? So it's a big topic. It's one of those sales operations topics that's one of my passion points. I talk about it a lot, but Sean, why don't you get us started?
So I love talking about sales process because I think it's one of the things that we help customers, our clients, with the most. So many sales people will happily just do whatever they feel is right, whatever they think is going to work that instant on that particular sales campaign. They won't do the same thing from one campaign to another. Some of them will, some of them won't. But I'm a big believer that not only do you have to have a sales process, but that sales process has to be documented in your CRM with stages so you can go through the process over and over and over again. And your sales manager, your CEO, your chairman of the board, whoever's kind of watching revenue projections, they can actually say, okay, I have this many deals at this stage, so this many there, this many there. And we're repeatedly going through that process.
100%. And the visibility, it's funny we bring these things up together. We talk about CRM, we talk about process, and we talk about leadership. You and I were presented to a great group of folks this past week, about a couple hundred folks. And what we talked about a lot was typically in, what is the value of a system? And we started off by talking about CRM and why it's so important not to use CRM as a reporting tool, right? So having a system, but not using it as a reporting tool. You want to use a CRM and a sales process so that you can repeat successful outcomes, right? That's the teasing point there is, sales is not just activities. Sales is relationships and value and process and, communicating that value. And the other thing we talked about, Sean, and this is one that I think that you and I both have a strong passion for, is which comes first, marketing systems and strategy or sales systems and strategies. So,
yeah, I agree. And what you're saying, something about if you don't have a repeatable sales process?
Man, you're just teeing me up here, man. It's good stuff. I so enjoy presenting with you. So one of my favorite phrases, and I said it probably 4 times at the meeting this past week, was if you don't have a sales process, repeatable sales process, you don't have a repeatable sales process. And that means that you can't hire someone into a system that is repeatable, and it's really tough to scale. You're really just handcuffing yourself by not having a defined, repeatable sales process.
Yeah, and just because you repeat the steps, so this is my add-on onto your favorite saying, or one of your favorite sayings, just because you have you do repeat the steps doesn't mean that it's a repeatable process, because that process needs to actually map to what the buyer's journey is, as well as what you need from a sales perspective to qualify and bring that customer along. So there's 2 journeys that are going along. Hopefully those 2 journeys are merging. So you got the buyer's journey and you got the sales journey, and hopefully they're merging. And that's what that sales process is supposed to map along. So your sales process that is documented and repeatable has to take into account what are the things that your customers typically have to do in order to make a decision to buy your product.
Amen. I mean, I'm cheering from the back rows and from the front row on this one, Sean. When we're working with CEOs and businesses in general, not just CEOs, typically we're building infrastructure first, sales operations, the process, the documentation, all those pieces. And at some point, we get in your mind, we're imagining a seesaw, right? You get to that point where you're talking about efficiency, but then you start to tilt that seesaw and talk about effective, right? Because efficiency is doing the same thing, at a good pace, but effective is doing the right things. And I think that's really where you and I were partnering onto that last statement. We're going from not having a system at all, meaning founder led, every sale is different, every product you sell requires a different process, to being really effective in how you're winning the customer's attention, and then you're taking them through their buying journey. So
Yes. I'm curious. Have you ever had a salesperson push back on you and say, gee, you've got these 5, 6, 7 steps? Because typically you don't have more than that. Hopefully you don't have more than 10 steps in your process, stages in your process. But do you ever have a salesperson push back and say, hey, Kevin, you're just going to slow me down, man. You're holding me back because now I got to do all these things that I don't really have to do. And I can wing it and I get to the end without that process. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And that typically comes for me. I work with a lot of founder led sales organizations. That typically comes from the founder because they're so busy trying to run all the parts of the business that they don't want to devote enough time to capture the relevant data. And there's two things I like about this. One is once I give them, you crack the door open with them and get them to see the value here, they become immediate cheerleaders. And there's a number of ways to do that, but they become your biggest advocate. And once I find my biggest proponent, they're immediately my target for being my biggest advocate.
Sure.
The other place where I get people push back is when I say, we got to actually stop this deal where it is now and back it up because we skipped steps. What about you, Sean?
Absolutely. I actually, there's a quote that's in, and I'm going to botch the name of the book. I think it's called The Qualified Sales Leader, something like that. It's written by John McMahon, and he actually talks about slowing down so you can speed up. So he actually talks about the whole idea of make sure you do all of the things in the order that makes sense for the business that you've developed, so that at the end you don't have to go backwards and do that. Let's back up and get things done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Slow down to get it done so you can speed up, so you can get the order at the time that you want, because that is the ultimate goal for a sales process. The ultimate goal is that the CEO or chairman of the board, president, whatever the case may be, VP of sales, can understand what's going on in the business, what's going on in the sales team, so that they can actually say, we have so many orders that are this far out, so many orders that are that far out. We got this one that's taken way too long in this stage. So now let's spend some extra time to figure that out. And why is that taking so long? What's the stopgap there, right? So what's in our way?
Great call. I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little bit more on that, because I think it's a really great point for everyone listening, whether you're a CEO leading a sales team or you're a new salesperson trying to figure out how to sell more effectively. So right now it's late October, and we've just heard about interest rate hikes and all kinds of global geopolitical shifts. So deals are in some cases grinding to a halt, right? So you talked about time and a stage. How do we get those deals unstuck? Why don't you take one of those roles?
Right. Well, first of all, you have to understand what deals are stuck, right? So some CRM systems, not all, but some CRM systems have a standard report have a stuck report or stuck stage report that actually will give you all those deals that are longer than you expect to be in a given stage. So let's make sure you actually can find that information. If you don't, then maybe they should contact us to get some help on that CRM. But so once you have those, you really need to kind of identify what's going on. A lot of times, the reason a deal is stuck is because the deal was not ready to go into that stage, right? So whatever your stages are, I like to talk about discovery and scoping and economic buyer meetings and validation event or POC or whatever. So maybe the reason it's stuck, like if you're going into your POC or your validation event stage, then maybe the customer wasn't ready to enter that because you didn't have all of the details set up in advance. You kind of accelerated into that. Customer said, yeah, let's do this right away. And you really didn't have a lot of really good information. You didn't know what the economic buyer was really trying to look for. All of these things can get in the way. It can cause you to actually slow down on that stage. So that's the biggest indication that I typically see is we have slowed down because we didn't do all the stuff that we were supposed to do before. And now we have to catch it up. Now we have to do it, right? And that wasn't obvious to the sales VP or the CEO. The salesperson was kind of just hurrying up and getting there, and then it just wasn't going on.
Great. And for the salesperson, if you find yourself looking for ways to get deals unstuck, I typically start with what's next. So meaning you need to, as a salesperson, know what the customer's expectation of the next step is. Like, have you sold the next step? What's next in your process? And what is now? I use now, next, and new in my sales reviews, but the next for the customer is preceded by what's now, right? What are the challenges that the customer sees now? What are the challenges you as a salesperson see now? That could be in the form of, hey, I don't have the right person in the room. If I were to issue a contract today, they're not allowed or authorized to sign it, right? We don't have the economic buyer. I love that term. The other thing could be, well, I have rushed a demo and I don't know quite enough about their organization to know what pain I'm solving. So if you ever find yourself in the middle of a demo and one of your prospects says, that really doesn't apply to us, that's a good signal to you as a salesperson to go, ooh, I may have rushed this demo, right? So this is why it's so important for us as VPs of sales, and as we're out exterior to our customers, to have a firm understanding of what problems we're solving and being able to document it, because the value for us is that we now understand the customer's journey in a vertical.
Yes.
But it also allows the people we work for to see what the stages are, especially when we're talking about companies that are looking to exit in 4 or 5 years and generate reliable, repeatable forecasts and sales, and look to cash flow forecasting for CFOs in the world that are looking to understand what are the cash requirements. When do we know that we need another pre-sales asset, another delivery asset? So it really comes back to utilization in a lot of cases. So
I agree.
And
it's really important as well. And I said this a little earlier, that's those stages. And so I have my standard 6 or 7 that I'm going to try to implement at any given company, but I'm going to look at their business to find out, is there something different in there about their business that is unique? But I want to look at their buyer's journey to make sure that if we know that for this deal, we always have to cover whatever the chief security officer, or we always have to cover the VP of marketing at our customer, our client's customer, then let's make sure that's built into the stage that we have actually done that and we've actually worked on checking that off. Yes, we've had a meeting with the VP of marketing, because we know we're not going to move forward 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. We're not going to move forward unless that VP of marketing says, yep, that's something that we need to do. So let's just build that into the sales process.
100%. So Sean, a couple of good takeaways from this. You mentioned a book. Would you say that book name again, please?
Yes, it's John McMahon's Qualified Sales Leader, QSL for short. You can find it everywhere books are sold, I believe. It came out about a year ago. I actually make it not required, strongly suggested reading for all of my clients. It talks a lot about sales process. John McMahon was the chief revenue officer for 5 different, and I'm not going to even try to remember what companies those were, but 5 different companies that went public. So he was very successful at selling things that were unique in that marketplace that he did it. And he wrote a book about a year and a half ago, year ago. It's a great book. I advise everybody to read it if you want to learn about sales.
Completely agree. And then I partner onto that by saying, hey, Amos Schwartzfab and Sell More Faster. And I think you and I would probably both advocate for Atomic Habits to build this system as you're building infrastructure into your business. Make sure you're adding the discipline to follow the system for you as a leader, as well as your team to follow. You'll get better results. You will absolutely add rocket fuel to your sales organization. So,
absolutely.
Sean, great topic today. We've really hit the nail on the head with sales organizations and why having a documented sales process. So what are we going to talk about next?
So let's talk about real quickly that this is all part of, or let's remind our listeners or the people who are watching that this is all part of our sales agility assessment that we do for our clients or our potential clients to figure out where they are and do they actually even need us, right? So if they answer no to enough of these questions, then we say we can add value. If they answer yes to all of these questions, then there may not be any value that we can actually help them with because they're doing everything right. So we decided we're going to go through where this is episode 5. We've now worked on 4 of those. The first episode was why you need to assess your sales team. So this is episode 5. We have 6 more to go, or because we just did 4. So we're looking forward to it. We do this every Tuesday at 4:30. So we look forward to you coming out, and we try to get these done in 15 minutes. And I looks like we're just a little couple of seconds over that. So let's wrap this puppy up.
So the next one, stay tuned for the next one, is how does salespeople retain client information and document sales opportunities? It's about the data cleanliness and capture. So look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday. And until then, happy selling.
Thank you very much. Bye.